Hey, welcome everybody. Here we are standing in the Shiloh National Cemetery. That's Chris Mikowski behind the camera. You might see from him on this or a couple other videos as well, Emerging Civil War. I'm Garry Adelman. You're with the American Battlefield Trust, and we are really excited to be covering Shiloh now. We're even more excited to be out here in the first place, and thanks to the several hundred of you that supported this trip and allowed this trip to happen. You already have noticed we've already been to Fort Henry, we've been to Fort Donelson, and now we're sort of following the Union armies as they open up more Confederate territory. We're going to cover the Battle of Shiloh. We're going to cover the siege and Battle of Corinth. We are going to sort of skip to later that year and cover a cavalry action at Parker's Crossroads, Tennessee. We're going to cover the Battle of Stones River. And then we're going to cover some more cavalry action at a place you've heard of, Bryce's Crossroads. Before the time is up, we're going to follow John Bell Hood into Tennessee, Spring Hill, Nashville, and Franklin in late 1864. So we have a lot of things to cover, and that's sort of the continuum of what we're covering here. We hope to shoot, this is the first of what we hope will be numerous videos in and around the Shiloh National Military Park. And here's what we know about Shiloh, right? We know that Lew Wallace got lost. We know that Albert Sidney Johnston died next to a tree. We know that Beauregard could have easily won the battle. We know that Don Carlos Buell saved Grant here at Shiloh. We know that the Union Army, everybody was killed in their tents, and if they weren't killed in their tent, they were killed at the Hornet's Nest, or maybe none of those things is completely true. And we hope to explore these things as we get through all of these videos, and we're going to be unpacking a whole lot of that with our good friend General Parker Hill's Battle Focus Tour. So Parker, you know, where are we? Well, how'd we get here? Let's talk Union Army here.
Well, if you'll hold the maps for me, I'll show you where
I will be glad to.
And I'm glad you denoted that that was a list of bovine scatology that you had covered on all of these things that allegedly happened here at Shiloh. But let's kind of get an idea here. Fort Henry, where of course Grant will capture this on the 6th day of February 1862, and then move over and capture Fort Donelson on the 16th day of February 1862, and this will lead to him becoming an overnight major general. He will get his major generalcy will be effective the 16th day of February 1862. And this is also where he will gain rank over his former senior brigadier general, William Tecumseh Sherman. So Sherman will eventually become a subordinate of Grant's here at Shiloh. Now, you might also recall that Grant will become an overnight sensation nationwide for capturing these two fortifications on these two rivers, which are daggers leading into the heart of the Confederacy. There are three daggers: the Mississippi River, the Tennessee River, and the Cumberland River. And in those days down south, you had dirt roads. You didn't have any macadamized roads. It was pure dirt. So trying to move an army, particularly in wintertime, was very, very difficult in the South. But now that you've got transport boats and you've got ironclad gunboats to protect those transport boats, courtesy of James Buchanan Eads, these boats were built between September and December of 1862. And now here we are in 1861, and now here we are in early 1862. They can bring these transport boats protected by gunboats down these rivers and invade the South. And that's exactly what this is all about. Grant wants to move down to Pittsburg Landing, to Savannah, Tennessee, and Pittsburg Landing, then capture the strategic city of Corinth. And yes, their railroads are very important. Of course they are. But even more important in my mind is the fact that Grant recognizes, and he says, that between the Tennessee River and the Mississippi River, Corinth is the major point, and between Nashville and Vicksburg it's a major point. This will allow him to flank Memphis. Remember, when he captures Henry and Donelson, he flanks Columbus, Kentucky, and the Confederate guns there, the Confederates there, have to be abandoned. Columbus, Kentucky is flanked, it's gone. If he can move down and capture Corinth, he will flank Memphis. That's that much more of the Mississippi River open, which is the strategic objective.
That's great, Parker. Thanks for bringing us up to speed. Continue.
All right. And so now, Grant is going to start moving down. He wants to move down, but Grant becomes too famous too fast. You make enemies doing that. Henry Wager Halleck, his boss, he gets very jealous, just as did Saul with David. And he spreads rumors that Grant's drinking. Grant is benched, and Charles Ferguson Smith will bring the troops down to Savannah. Grant is not relieved, as some people will say. He's just put on the bench. And when Lincoln learns this, he says, you know, show me your evidence, and Halleck gives up, and Grant will come down and assume command. Now, while Charles Ferguson Smith is down here in Savannah, Tennessee, which is only about 6 miles up the river, actually down the river because the river flows north here, First time I came here and saw a log floating in the wrong direction, it really messed me up.
It's like the Shenandoah Valley, where
Yeah,
you go north, you're going downriver.
So now here are the Union troops here at Savannah, Tennessee. And they tried to move down just out of Eastport. Charles Ferguson Smith will send troops down. William Tecumseh Sherman, they will try to come up Yellow Creek and get down around to the railroad behind Corinth. They will fail, but as they come back up the river, Sherman's troop will disembark in a driving rainstorm here at Pittsburg Landing. Eventually, other divisions will land here. When Grant comes down and assumes command, he finds that most of the divisions are here at Pittsburg Landing. Let's go to a closer-up view of the map so we can get a better view here. Okay.
Oh, we didn't practice this. You're with the American Battlefield Trust. We're along the Tennessee River on the high bluff along the river, now known as the Shiloh National Cemetery.
All right, and Lew Wallace's division will be up here at Crump's Landing. This is going to be a major supply depot for the Army. The supplies are coming upriver, and they're dumping off at Crump's Landing. Now here we're going to have William Tecumseh Sherman's division here, Stephen Hurlbut's division. Eventually, we're going to have John Alexander McClernand's division, and we're going to end up with the divisions are all down here at Pittsburg Landing as they come down by boat and come ashore here. Now. Henry Wager Halleck, Grant's boss, has told Grant to establish his headquarters here in Savannah, Tennessee, which Grant will do at the Cherry Mansion. And this allows him to send messages back to Halleck, headquarters, Savannah. Little does Halleck know, the troops are all down here on the west side of the river. And as they do, they're down here, they're waiting for Don Carlos Buell's troops to come down from Nashville, Tennessee and join up. When they join up, Halleck intended to come down and assume command of these forces himself, and then capture Corinth and gain the. Remember, Grant has become famous. It's time for Halleck to capture Corinth and become famous. Well, Grant is here, established here. The Confederates are going to be down here in Corinth, Mississippi. We'll talk about them a little bit later as they're going to move up. But this is how the troops come in here. They're staging here to move to Corinth, Mississippi, and that's the game plan.
So that's great, Parker. Thank you so much. So again, let me just say that we're on a high bluff up here. You know, a lot of the Tennessee River was subject to flooding, but not here. Look how high above the river we are right now. It's lovely open ground here. We got some, you know, visitors around here who are trying to escape our view over here. And here we are in this beautiful cemetery. But this whole area, the huge bluff along this, between here, Dill Branch, and elsewhere, it's Union camp going on up here. And, you know, the Union Army flushed with victory. Again, they've captured 100,000 square miles of territory. Remember, Shiloh is April of 1862. In March of 1862, the Union will prevail at the Battle of Pea Ridge or Elkhorn Tavern. And between the Trans-Mississippi and over here, suddenly 100,000 square miles of territory, former Confederate territory, belongs to the Union. And there we sit in the spring of 1862. Now remember, all of this will be effectively undone in much of the public's mind because Robert E. Lee moves against George McClellan and pushes him away from Richmond, and the Union seems on the brink of disaster. But that never stops a relentless pursuit of more and more Confederate territory conquered by the Western Union armies. So keep that in mind. These things all happen at the same time. Now, one thing we're going to do is go around this battlefield, but the next thing we're going to do is bring the Confederates here, of course. The Union is already here on this, what will become this battlefield. The Confederates are going to show up, and that will result in the bloodiest, most costly battle in all of American history by 4 times up to that point. Parker, anything else to add?
Oh, I think you've got it, Gary. And once we get the Confederates in position, then we'll attack and we'll have a battle.
Okay, good. We will cover the cemetery and Pittsburg Landing in some other videos, but there's your setup. Thanks to Chris Makowski, Emerging Civil War Behind the Camera. Thanks, Parker. Thank you for watching and for supporting this trip and battlefield preservation.